On today's episode of Quest, I have model, actress, DJ, singer, Playboy 50th anniversary Playmate Colleen Shannon. Life is a quest for logic and reason. It is a quest to find balance between science and faith. Life is a quest for knowledge and understanding. But most importantly, it's a quest for personal discovery. Whatever your quest, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Welcome to Quest. Hi everyone, I'm your host, Todd Fischer, and welcome to Season 3 of Quest. A quest is a search for something, and this podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. To me, curiosity is part of what makes us human, and there's still so much we don't know. There's joy in discovery. It's what drives us. It's our quest. Hi, Colleen. Welcome to the Quest podcast.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for making the time today. I'm excited to get to interview you. You're a very interesting person. You've been a model and an actress and a DJ and a singer. You were in Playboy magazine in January of 2004 as the magazine's 50th anniversary Playmate. Quite amazing accomplishments across the board. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm a really big fan of manifestation and setting goals. And it was, my main goals when I was about 19 was to become like one of the world's best female DJs. Yeah. And I also wanted to become a playmate, like simultaneously. And I had tried Playboy so many times, and it was like my best friend that I brought, like she would get the layout or get the job. And Playboy wasn't working out for me. And I ended up meeting a manager at a movie audition, and he shot some pictures of me, sent it into Playboy while they were looking for the 50th anniversary Playmate. And it was like, oh my gosh, they're going to shoot my centerfold with turntables. And it paid a whole lot more than just a regular Playmate. And it kicked off my whole entire career. So I didn't get it the first shot, the second shot. It took me about 5 or 6 times. But when it finally happened, it was like, okay, this is really happening. It was amazing.
Wow. That's great. I didn't realize that was the catalyst that kicked everything off for you. That's amazing. What do you think? Is there a common misconception people have about a Playboy Playmate? What have you come across more than anything? Because you're quite accomplished. I mean, it's just these jobs, for you to be able to achieve all this stuff, it really takes something, some talent and intelligence. But what do you think? What's the wrong impression people have about Playboy Playmates?
Well, you know what? As far as being a Playboy Playmate, it was, for me, like I looked up to Jenny McCarthy and Marilyn Monroe and Pamela Anderson, and women that were, like sex beauty icons, but they had a career to back it up. So the misconception is just, if you can use what Playboy was and is for a stepping stone for your career, I mean, it was just hands down like a great, like a business move, like a great deal.
Yeah. I know, I see from your posts, and we've chatted a little, I see that you have some spirituality and religion in your life. I'm curious, in the entertainment world, and this is models, entertainers of all sorts, you don't generally hear about entertainers being spiritual or religious. Did you ever notice your peers being spiritual or religious, or do you think it's hidden from the public in a way, or are people just not?
I think it's your own personal quest. I mean, I can't really speak for others. I do think that the more we start to open up about it, your like-minded people and tribe will find you. But I mean, there was moments in my life where I needed to make major changes, and I got down on my knees and I prayed, please, like, make a change for me. Like, this is what I'm wanting. This is what I'm needing. And, the universe, God, like, just stepped in and, held my hand and helped me just cut off the bad decisions, start making the right decisions. And then all of a sudden it was like your beautiful, like, goals and where you want to be were happening for you.
Yeah.
But you have to be connected first, and you got to be making the right choices. I would say one thing is the reason why I had so much success is because, number one, I was happy.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I had to uncut from anything that was toxic, any bad habits, anything I felt that was weighing me down. When I made that decision, it was like the doors open up for me and people feel the energy of
yeah,
that.
for
And
sure.
that's when you're going to start, like, harvesting your, like, manifestations.
For sure. Did I read that you grew up in Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you in Alaska?
For like 13 years. I was
13
born and
years.
raised there. Yeah.
So what was growing up in Alaska like, and did you grow up spiritual and religious? Tell me about young Colleen.
Young Colleen was just like a major imagination. I mean, I grew up on an island where there was no television, no cars, no street lights, no shopping malls. I mean, there was basically nothing. Like, this
Wow.
was an island that had nothing of what a city could offer you.
Wow.
I mean, maybe we had one or two TV channels, but there was no cable of 200, 500 channels.
Wow.
Maybe we had two movies in our house that we just watched over and over again. So, like, as a child, like, I feel like I grew up in my imagination. Like, I would
Yeah.
just, like, think and dream of, like, all these things, and spent a lot of time just, like, playing outside. And I mean, like, we were on an island that, like, I'm telling you, there was not even a car, not even a running car on the island.
Yeah. When you hear about someone growing up on an island, I think the last state people think that would happen at would be Alaska. But there are people don't think about, like,
Yeah.
how remote so much of
Oh
Alaska
yeah.
is. I know other people from Alaska, and they literally were in towns of 35 people, like, so
Yes.
small. I'm thinking I had
Yes.
high school classes that were bigger than these entire towns, and it's
Yeah, so wild. I'm actually quite thankful that I grew up in a place like that, and somehow I eventually ended up in Los Angeles, working on, like, my creative, like, my childhood dreams that I never thought could happen, especially coming from an island in Alaska.
right. And when you were younger, were you a religious child?
I grew up, I was, went through confirmation, I was baptized, I was confirmed, I went to a church, high school, homeschooling. So I definitely had a connection with God, with the higher spirit. And
Sure.
then as I got older, I got more worldly. I was touring the world as a DJ, going to all these different countries, saying, there is God, but there are many gods. There are many parts of, like, the universe for higher spirit to be inside of you.
Right.
So I just got closer and closer to the connection between myself and my higher spirit, which is what anybody could call anything, whether it be your God or your Buddha or your,
Right.
what have you.
Right. Right. And you appeared on some pretty cool TV shows. You were on How I Met Your Mother, I believe, right?
Yes.
What was that
Well,
experience like? That was one of the biggest shows on television. It had to have been amazing.
it was such a, like, it was just, it's so funny. Acting is such a, like, acting is, it's an art and it takes work. And like I studied and studied at it, and either I was really good at it or I was really terrible. So I just remember like, I just remember doing every part of the work for that audition, and then going in there, and like when I got the part, I was just like, yes, like all years of acting school. I mean, I studied for at least half a decade, if not a full decade, so it was when I actually did the proper work and then I got that show, I was just like, I was so happy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Your
happy.
your experience in all of these different areas of entertainment, do you think your entertainment experience was generally a good experience, or did you experience a seedier side of the business?
I did, I will say about 90% of it was a dream. I didn't run into any problems. I had proper agents. I never had to deal with any like uh closed doors like BS. But coming to light now, I had a manager that I was definitely his bait to get girls like in bed. And I'm just now like starting to open up about this,
Yeah.
because it was like I met this manager and he's like, I can make all your dreams come true, but I also want to be with you. And I was like, that's never going to happen. But if you want to make money together, we can do that. And then as we accomplished so much over like 10 years, he knew that there was boundary there. So he
Right.
never crossed it with me, but it was always like him bringing in another new model to be introduced to me, like
Wow.
over and over and over again. And I realized that I was the bait for that girl. And it really got to me. I ended up having to stop working with him completely.
Mm. Wow. Speaking of kind of like the seedier side of the business right now, I think one of the things you see all over the internet, particularly from Playmates, is about this A&E documentary, Secrets of Playboy, which is really kind of hardcore attacking the brand and Hugh Hefner personally. And I have several friends that kind of came out of that world, and I've talked to them all about this, and almost everyone remembers the positive aspect of all this and how good Hugh Hefner was to them. What was your experience of Playboy like? Is this documentary just really are these cynical and jaded people? Are these made up stories? What do you think about all of this?
First, I will say I have compassion for anybody that was put in a compromising situation. It's like my heart goes out to them. But I will say, as a woman, you have to be strong and you have to make the right choices for yourself. You have to know, like, when you're putting yourself in certain situations. When I was testing for Playboy, Hef would say, you can come stay at the mansion. And I would decline, politely decline. He would say, I'd like to take Colleen in the limo tonight to meet her. And this was all while my centerfold was being decided.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I will meet him at the restaurant. Like, you have to have boundaries, especially if you want to be a strong woman in the industry and you want to have respect, because your boat is not going to sail for very long if you're if you put yourself out there and you do things. I was very like serious about saying, I want this, but I'm not going to compromise any of my integrity to get this.
Right. Right.
But do I feel bad for the girls? Do I think that this happens in every single industry, not just with Playboy, but with everything?
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
out there. This is the world. You could go to the grocery store and put yourself in a bad situation or get into a bad situation. So I have compassion for them, but I do want to stand for women making smart decisions for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting when documentaries like this come out, the way you see things through a lens, right? So it's, for me, I can see through the lens of today, or the early 2000s or the 90s and even the 80s, because that's how old I am. But a lot of people, especially young people, don't know what the lens of a different decade was like. And perspectives shift and things are looked at a little bit differently. And yeah, I think like a couple of the times people talked about how rampant Quaaludes were at the mansion. The Quaaludes were they were a really popular thing in the 70s and fairly safe. Today they're looked at as something entirely different. But it's interesting to me how the lens shifts on how people perceive events that happened in the past, not only whether you lived through the past or whether you're a young person trying to see that decade for the first time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think in some ways these documentaries are very unfair because you just don't really, unless you lived through that time, you'll never really see it accurately. There could be people.
Perspective. Yeah, it's like
it is.
You can have 10 different people with 10 different perspectives, and everybody with a different experience. So
yeah, for sure. What's the key to your longevity and your success, and how important is spirituality in your life now?
I am so connected to Source. So connected. As far as like my career right now, I just set my goals. My goals are a little bit different right now. I'm writing like 3 books. I'm getting back in the studio. I'm working on music. I'm still like traveling the world, DJing, and I'm a mother now. So I've got 2 little ones.
Yeah.
And they're like my driving points for, I want to be great and I want to be great for them. So yeah, it's just, everything is connected.
For sure. How can people find you out there in the interwebs? You have a .com, you're on social media, things like that?
Yeah, so my Instagram is DJ Colleen Shannon. My Facebook is DJ Colleen Shannon. Twitter is DJ Colleen 50. I just released a sneaker this past year. I did a collab, and it's there's a pink one. It's made of like a faux like snake skin, so it's called Soul's Fang. And the message of my collaboration was do what your soul tells you.
Oh, that's
kind
great.
of meaning like follow your inspiration. So it has to do with doing what your soul tells you, being a warrior, like having faith. One of the sneakers is pink, so I want to tap into like the breast cancer foundation. And we're just having a lot of fun with it. So, work is, I try and make work fun.
Yeah, for sure. What advice do you have for people that want to get into the entertainment business? What do you think the single most important thing is to do for the person just getting off the bus in LA right now? What should they look out for? What piece of advice could you give?
I can make it really simple. You are only as good as your team.
That's great.
Like if you want to be a winner, you got to seek out your representation. You're only as good as your team.
That's great. That's great advice.
Get your team together. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Colleen, I know I don't have you for very long today. You're in the middle of some traveling and moving in and out of places and all this good stuff. So I appreciate the time you could give me today. I do hope you come back to the podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. And the children's book is called DJ Boy. It's written like inspired by my son. So the book should be coming out this year called DJ Boy, and then the sneakers, and then I just want everybody to try and follow their souls and stay as connected and positive as possible. That's my message.
Oh yeah, those are beautiful words.
Colleen,
I appreciate you being here today.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
And there you have it, my interview with Colleen Shannon. It was a quick interview today, but I felt like she had a lot of interesting stuff to say. I do hope she comes back, and until next time, thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fischer and distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright. Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for the International Association of Metatomics at metatomics.org or find us on social media for other unique content.